let's do a door swag. Arborvitae is a really great one for door swags. That Fraser fir also works really excellent as well because they're nice and flat pieces and they will hang just like you want them to. So if you can do one just with a plain old evergreen bough and a bow, but I like to mix up my greens again. And this is real easy, you just lay it flat. You can, I'm not going to make mine quite that big. I'm going to leave that stem there for a little bit and I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay, so we can still add a little bit of, let's try a nice little piece of Scotch. Nah, I don't think I like Scotch pine in there. Let's go with some blue spruce to give a little bit of color. And you can just sort of work it in with the other greens. And maybe we'll put another little piece of cedar in the back there to give you some bulk. And very simple. Maybe we'll put a little piece of juniper. Now let's go for some Scotch pine there. Give it a little bit of a different texture. Now I'm going to leave the stems kind of long there. But I've got some greenery going. You're going to take your wire and you're going to wrap it around as tight as you can. So what happens with evergreen, as they dry a little bit throughout the season, and with the wreath the same way, they shrink up just a little bit as they lose moisture. So it is always good to do bunches as tight as you can. And you're just going to wire that around a few times. I'm going to flip over. I am going to wrap these wires around themselves and I am going to cut it off. And I'm going to do what I call a crank, and I go like this, like you're turning a crank, and that actually tightens up your twisted wire. Twist it a few times first, then give it a couple of these little cranks, and that anchors it up, tightens it up really well. Then take those ends back and tuck them back into the greenery so that you don't scratch your door with it. I'm going to show you how to make a door hanger for this particular. You've got your swags all ready to go. And you can put a bow there. You can do it as is. You can trim that end off and put a bow on it so that you don't see those little ends, or you can add a little top knot to it. And that's easy to do too. Just take a few pieces of greens. And this is going to be a smaller little end. I'm going to cut off some of this. I don't want all of that right there. A little piece of that blue spruce. You want to use kind of the same evergreen that you used previously, and you're going to lay it out at the top. Now you can do a horizontal swag and make them both sides even, and then just make sure you wire a lot of a good anchor in between. Or you can, this is my vertical swag. I'm going to take some more wire again, and then we'll wire it right to the top of that. I'll flip it over. Jane, you came back to help. A twist. I'm going to crank a little bit, and I'm going to aim that wire back into the evergreen. That. Okay. All right. So we've got a nice door swag. There's a little gap in there, but that's where we'll put a bow or a cluster of clones or any kind of decorations we want to there. So, but first off, we need to make a hanger for it. Now with a wreath, you just hang it right on that frame, no problem at all. But a door swag, you don't really have anything to work with. So we're going to take a piece of 20 gauge florist wire. It's already cut, and we're going to wrap it through that center, flip it over, and we're going to even out the ends. Then we're going to twist real tight around the base, and then we can just kind of loop it together. I kind of twist it around a little bit so it those two pieces stay together. Then we're going to bend this end back into the stems so that it won't stick out and scratch your door. And you're going to have like a little loop there, and then push that center together, and then you're going to twist those together just like that. It's not a beautiful door hanger, but it'll work, and it'll give you a little loop right there so you can hang on a nail or wherever you need to. Okay, all right. Now I think we can look at how to decorate. Okay, now we can start the fun part. We're going to start decorating, and there's a myriad of things you can do to decorate a wreath. And just remember that hot glue is your friend. You can attach a lot of things with that, and you can go through your garden and find good stuff to make your wreaths with there too. But I'm going to start with a bow, and I'll show you how to make a standard florist bow. Now this is a wired velvet, so that means the edges are wired, so you can kind of scrunch and bend and it'll stay put. Now you can do a plastic-backed velvet, but they're really hard to work with, and so if you're making your bow for the first time, go for a little softer fabric like this velvet. It has a front and a back, and that'll be important here in about a minute. Okay, so you want to make a bow. Start with your tail end. So you want to leave a little length of a tail. I'm going to put this bow on this on my door swag. So I want that tail to hang down a little ways. And so what you do is you scrunch and twist. So first things first, you scrunch. So you've got a little, your tail is sticking out that way. And then you're going to twist. Okay, so that the back side is showing up. Now you're going to fold this into a loop over the top of your thumb. Now see how I've got that going over my thumb, and then I'm going to scrunch again, and I'm going to put that right behind my thumb and between my thumb and forefinger. So now I have twisted, I've made it a center loop for that bow. Now I'm going to twist again. Okay, now I'm twisted back and my top side is showing. I'll make a loop like this, and then I'm going to scrunch again and twist. And you can make these loops any size you want. You can make that center loop any size you want, but the smaller the better, the tighter. It makes a better button in the middle. And then, so you're going to loop it around and scrunch and twist. It's harder to do when there's no front and back side of your ribbon because you forget where you're at and which side you've twisted. And some people just layer them back and forth, but I like the twist method. It gives your bow a little bit more dimension and fluffs it up and scrunches that center up nice and even. So I stick my finger in, measure, and I've got the same size loops, and I'm going to scrunch again and twist. So again, front to back, scrunch and twist. So most of the time I'm working with top side facing me instead of the bottom side. And then scrunch and twist. Okay. All right. I'm going to make this a 3-loop bow. So I'm going to scrunch, twist, and then I'm going to aim it downwards. So down past my wrist there. And I'm going to tug it a little bit. And at this point, I'll cut off straight. And then I'm going to use some of that 20 gauge florist cut wire because it's a little bit stronger. I like a stronger wire, a thicker wire with the bow because it holds better and is less likely to break and have your ribbon come apart. So then you're going to take that wire, slide it right between, under the loop, that button loop that you made, and between your fingers, and then bend it around the back side, pull both ends tight, and then you're going to kind of bend like that. And you've got to see how it's going around your twisted centers there. And then you're going to twist. And remember when I showed you that crank before? We're going to crank again. And that tightens that bow up really well, or that wire up really well. And it'll tighten that knot so it's nice and scrunchy right in there. Okay? And then you can kind of fluff that bow. And then pull your ends down. Sometimes they want to do something wonky, and sometimes that first tail wants to twist a little funny. But there you go. Now, you can do a couple of treatments to the ends if you like. You can either cut an angle and make it straight across. I like to lay both my ends together, fold that in half, and then make an angled cut with the high side on the inside of the ribbon to the side of the ribbon, like that. And then you have like a little forked end to your tails, and it's kind of fun that way. Now we're going to put this right on that door swag. So with your bow, you're going to have, it's a little bit twisted. You can take your both sides and go right around that center of that wreath. Watch out for your hanger there. And again, twisty, 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 till that's nice and tight. And then you can either cut the ends off or just make sure they all get tucked way down into the green so you don't see them there. And you can reuse those bows, you know, if you don't cut your ends off too tight or too small, you can reuse these bows, just take them off. Even if you had to cut that wire, you could always put a new wire around that center loop. So, all right, I'm going to fluff a little bit. And now, you may have to tuck those ends a little bit around the greens. And there you go, you've got a door swag. Now you can put some cones in there. The long, narrow cones kind of dangle down kind of pretty. Put a few in the top. Put some of your dried flowers in there. Maybe a little pod would be kind of fun in there. So, but your door swag's all ready to go.